This segment of the Bass Kayak and Beers podcast is supported in part by Douglas Outdoors, serious rods for serious anglers. Go to douglasoutdoors.com and check out their new lineup of Era rods that retail under $100. Norsk Lithium, the lithium battery that you need is just a click away. Go to norsklithium.com and check out some of the lightest lithium batteries in the market with the best warranty in the business. Mariner Sales, located in the heart of the DFW Metroplex, Mariner Sales has the largest inventory of kayak and kayak accessories in North Texas. You can also shop online at marinersales.com. What's up, everyone? Welcome once again to the Bass Kayak and Beers podcast. As always, it's your boy Armando. We're gonna have a great guest for today. I got Wyatt Hammonds, who, by the way, just made history. First angler, I should say, to win the back-to-back KBN. They'll kill me for saying that. KBF National Championship, and also sandwich in between is the Bassmaster National Championship. So I think, if I'm doing the math right, he's won the last 3 national championships of the only 2 kind of national trails, if you want to count KBF as a national trail. I know they changed the format, no dig on that. But basically, last year's KBF National Championship, this year's Bassmaster Kayak Bassmasters Championship, and this year's KBF National Championship. So 3 championships in a row. I'm sure nobody has done that in the short history of our sport. And the reason why I'm really happy to do this episode right now is because I understand all the hoot and the hollering and all the hoopla about the recent cheating scandals. And there's just been a brand new one just last week when I was on vacation that I heard about it. And I understand that there is a line where you have to point out those people that are doing this, kind of shame them with all due respect, and call them out for what they're doing and who is doing it. But I think sometimes that gets so much attention, and everybody in social media is jumping on that algorithm train that through all this, the casualty is we don't talk about the positive stuff. Like Wyatt Hammonds just winning 3 straight national championships between KBF and Bassmaster Kayak Series. So while I get all that, and by the way, Adam Milstead from Straight At Yakking, who I think broke the story, had a great podcast about it. If you want to hear what happened in the latest scandal, go check out his podcast. Straight Yakking, I think is his podcast. He pretty much covered what everything went down. But enough about that. Let's talk about the great job that Wyatt Hammond has done. And before we do that, I want to bring in a special co-host for today's episode. Rob Perez, the oil field angler, has been a long-time supporter of the podcast, listen to the podcast. And that's something I try to do. People that support my podcast, like Jeremy McCormick, Corey Geisenford, and all that, I want to slowly bring him into a podcast, either as a guest or as a co-host, to just thank him for the support, because I'm doing this for you guys. I'm also trying to learn all this, but I enjoy doing what it is, no matter if it's 100 people listening or 1,000 people listening. I just enjoy the camaraderie. So without further ado, let's bring Rob in. Rob, how you doing, man?
Oh, I'm doing great. Thank you.
Thank you for coming to the podcast. Thank you for always supporting the podcast as you have done. Before we bring Wyatt Hammonds in, tell us a little bit about yourself, man. Why and where can people follow you on social media?
My name is Robert Pettis. I go by the Oilfield Angler. It's just kind of my personality, kind of a mix of what I do and whatnot. I spend a lot of time on the road with the oil field, and you don't always have a lot of free time to yourself. And I was fortunate enough a few years ago to discover fishing, and ever since that day, fishing has been incorporated into my life in one form or fashion or another. And it's been a great thing. I'm, just so much happier, even on the tough fishing days. But this this hobby or this lifestyle or this sport is great. And I want to thank you for allowing me to join, because I think there's a ton of people like myself who really started, fishing for fun, right? And really got to that point where, hey, I can kind of figure this out. I love the analytics of fishing. I know anyone can go catch a fish with a night crawler or, a hot dog at the end of a hook, but if you can outsmart a fish with a lure presentation, that's exciting. And, that's really where I'm at, a big student of the game. So being able to just kind of participate or listen in to someone who's doing great things, like, wow, that's just amazing. So thank you.
I know that you and I were talking before we got it started, and one of the reasons why you got in, and to me, it was kind of the same thing. It's kind of like uh middle age crisis. Like, to me, instead of buying investing on a shiny red convertible, I probably spend on a hobby that's probably more expensive than
Yeah.
convertible. But it's so interesting. I've always said, like, it's people that don't fish don't understand. Like, it's a lot easier to go fish for anything when throwing a night crawler on a hook, or some chicken liver, whatever it is that the guys throw out there. But for whatever reason, us as bass anglers, we look for the hardest fish to catch. Like, the literally, bass is the hardest fish to catch. Like,
Yeah.
and then we spend hundreds, if not thousands of dollars on techniques that are a lot harder to catch a fish than a live worm.
Yeah.
But it's that putting the puzzle together and that mental, I don't know, puzzle that you have to figure it out, and trying to add smart a fish with just tiny little brain makes no sense. And through all that, we put hours in it just to throw it back on the water.
Yeah.
It,
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
it makes absolutely no sense, but for whatever reason, it's enjoyable. Now, there are people out there that make a ton of money, like our guest for today. I mean, at least in tournaments, that have finally kind of figured out that code where they can outsmart fish consistently, especially at the biggest stage. And we're gonna have him on the show right now. Let's welcome in Wyatt Hammonds. How do you pronounce his name? Because I'm horrible at this.
Wyatt. It'll be Wyatt. Yep.
Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you.
So Wyatt is your last name?
Hammond. Wyatt Hammond.
Okay.
Yep, sorry.
No, you're good. You're good.
Cut it out
Wyatt?
for a second.
Yeah,
Armando, Rob. Also, thanks for letting me be on here.
It's our pleasure, man. Like I said, I felt bad. Originally I wanted to get you in when you won the Bassmaster Kayak Series Championship, but for whatever reason we couldn't work it out until now. And I think it's kind of fitting because I don't know, other than the Bassmasters podcast and social media, have you been invited to talk about on any podcast, on any social media platform, to talk about your recent accomplishments?
Darren Wendell, I've got he's scheduled me for December 2nd, so I've got that one on there as well.
Oh, great dude, and great podcast as well.
Yeah, so he's awesome. He's got plans and everything that he's already reached out to Old Town and gone kind of nuts with.
Yeah, Darren Wendell is one of the best social media content creators right now when we're talking about kayak bass fishing. He's doing an amazing job, and he really is putting in the work. Like, that guy is the hardest working guy right now in social media when it comes to kayak bass fishing. So I'm really happy for his success.
He's a great ambassador for the sport, definitely.
Yeah, like him and Justin Large and those guys. Like, it's just videos every single day, every little informational videos every single day. I'm like, man, I need to start doing.
I know. I get inspired by them, by aggressively average anglers as well. I just don't have the time to do that. And plus, it's like when I'm on the water, I just want to. That's what I admire most about those guys. Like, when I'm on the water,
I just tune it all.
I don't want to record. I don't want to talk to. I just want to focus on catching fish. Like, and for them to kind of stop what they're doing to talk to a camera, explain stuff. I mean, it takes a little bit away from what you want to do. So it's that balance. I think it's a lot of sacrifice they do too.
Yeah,
like
Plus-
you watch it, and these guys are like putting out a video or 2 videos every single day. And you're like, man, that's easy. And then you go out there and try and do it, and you're like, oh my god.
And it's
Oh,
almost
not
like
easy.
it's almost like the fish know when you hit that record button, they just
Yep.
disappear. It's like, come on, man.
they're camera shy, man. That's every time I leave my GoPro or something, or my batteries for the GoPro, I was like, oh, today's the good day. I'm gonna catch a good fish. Today's gonna be the best day of fishing I've ever had, just because I'm
No one's gonna
not
know
gonna able
about
to record it. Yeah, nobody's gonna know about it. But Wyatt, once again, congratulations. Me and Rob will take turns asking you questions from each of our perspective. And obviously, I always encourage people that are watching on the live, if you have any questions for our guests, for me or for Rob, just put it in the comment section. We'll try to get to them as we go along the show. But first of all, Wyatt, how do you feel about, winning 3 straight national championships?
Like I said, it's unreal. It hasn't really, like I said, it hasn't really fully sunk in. All of it hasn't really fully sunk in. It's kind of little bits and pieces. Like I still see trophy up there and don't really realize that it should be in the house. Like just kind of looking at stuff like that. And then the last KBF national championship, like Justin, the guy I was rooming with, I was telling him every single day, like, I don't think I have the fish to win this. I don't think I can win this. And now that I've won it, I don't know how in the world I pulled that off.
And when you look back, if I were to ask you 2 years back and say, hey man, you think you can win 3 straight national championships or at least win one? Did you ever feel like you were at that level, just didn't have a chance to prove it? Or are you even surprised that you have been able to accomplish this?
Haven't had don't imagine. It still doesn't even make sense that I could win it that much. It makes a lot more sense that I donate to the Russ Snyder cause for 3 years in a row. Like I imagine I could do that three times, but this is unbelievable. It's just something I never imagined in my wildest dreams. Like, you grow up as a kid. If everybody's fishing, you've watched Bassmasters, you've watched the Classic, you've watched everybody hold the trophy up on the Classics, the big blue trophy on the Classic stage, and like that's the dream. That is, go to sleep at night and dream about that, and the fact that I was able to pull it off is unbelievable.
Rob, you got any questions? Feel free to chime in, Rob. Don't
Yeah,
feel bad
so-
interrupting me.
I'm just gonna jump right in because, like I said, I think there's a whole bunch of people like myself who watch, this podcast or anything on YouTube, who are learning every day, really focused on getting better. At what point did you, I guess, really understand or have the confidence that hey, I could take this to the next level and compete successfly? What was that like?
It started. I've fished. I've grown up fishing my whole life, and I've bass fished, competitively since I was 18. I joined one of the bass boat clubs in Columbia, South Carolina, where I lived, and I always kind of like dabbled in bass fishing, but never was very, very serious about it until I got to the kayak world. Like I had a bass boat, and I fished, and I donated all the time, and I want to say 5 years ago, I blew, probably a little bit more than that. I blew the motor on my boat, and I was stuck. I was stuck with no boat, and I couldn't fish or anything like that. And the kayak world seemed like the way to go because I couldn't drop $20,000 and buy a new motor for my boat, but I could get $1,500 kayak, and I could go out there and kind of going from that boat world to the kayak world. The kayak world taught me a lot more about fishing. And just being in a kayak will teach anybody. I feel my personal opinion, being in a kayak teaches you a lot more about fishing, teaches you how to break down water and things like that. And taking that kayak out onto the lake, Sharon Harris is the lake that I fished out here a ton, and just breaking that body of water down, that single body of water down. They have some kayak tournaments out there, but I went out there for months and months and months in practice, and I broke it down for this is where the fish go in the summertime, this is where the fish go in the wintertime, this is where the fish go in the springtime, and kind of learning the fish on that one body of water, and then competing in the kayak tournaments on that body of water kind of gave me the confidence that if I can figure these fish out on this body of water, maybe I can translate that to larger bodies of water, and it was Lake Murray with KBF, where I kind of jumped into my first 200-person kayak tournament, and using what I learned on Sharon Harris to break down a larger body of water, just kind of moving a little bit up the chain. That's kind of what got me just kind of kept me moving it down the line.
Yeah, no, I think definitely, kayak fishing versus boat fishing is a lot more of a intimate relationship with the water, because you have limitations in regards to speed and covering water, But
Yeah.
on the flip side, you can also access a lot of places that them bigger boats can't. So it's
It
definitely an
changes.
advantage.
Yeah, I feel like it changed my mental game a lot more, because in the boat world, I could get I could be hard headed, and I could, if I want to throw this lure and the fish aren't biting, well, I'm going to go run over there and throw this same lure, and the fish still aren't going to bite it over that side of the lake either. Yeah. Whereas with the kayak, I'm stuck. I'm kind of limited to this little section of the lake, and I have to make the fish bite. I have to figure out at what stage of the year and where these fish are setting up, and how they're setting up in this one area without being able to run somewhere else. I have to kind of break it down a little bit better and be a little bit more open to change and things like that.
Yeah, gotcha.
What do you feel, Wyatt, has been like the one thing for me personally, there's always one thing that you're like, oh, like an epiphany. Now I kind of understand it. Did you ever have that epiphany moment where you realize, all right, this is what I was doing wrong. This is what I need to be doing. Was there anything that stands out in that ladder that you're climbing to become a better angler and kind of figuring out the puzzle?
I still struggle with it all the time, but it's not fighting the fish as much, not fighting, I guess I can call it, the universe as much. So I've got like all the times where I've done well in these tournaments, I'm sitting there and I'm doing something, and I backlash a reel instead of sitting there picking it out and getting frustrated. I just put it down and I pick up, well, maybe I need to throw this, and I start throwing a different lure and start catching fish. Or whenever I was working on my Gunnersville video, I'm sitting there skipping a jig. I'm skipping a jig for 2 hours, skipping a jig. And I skip a jig up under the dock. It hits a post, and the jig gets wrapped up, and there's line all around the hook, and the jig is sitting there dangling upside down. And I just put the rod behind me, and I pick up my punch rod, and 2 casts later, I catch a 20 and 3/4. And it's just like not fighting the stuff that happens, not getting spun out, not letting my head get in the way of it. I mean, I still do it all the time. But like recognizing those moments when you're like, hey, I could get spun out, or I could just kind of take it in stride and keep on going.
I think that's been for me as well. What about you, Rob?
I just stay focused on the fact that I am in the learning phase and spending as much time on the water as possible. And the number one rule that I have for myself is, if I'm frustrated or in a bad mood, just hang it up, And I tell my kids too, when we're out fishing, the fish can feel your energy, which I don't know if they can or can't. But if you're not having a good time, then just hang it up, because that needs to be the number one thing that the number one motivator for being out there. You have to have fun. I was out with my 9-year-old fishing, and I was I guess having a bad day or something, and I said, well, let's go try somewhere else. And he's like, well, Dad, you're probably the fish can feel your energy. I'm like, well, you're right.
There's something to it. I know that for me, as you mentioned, why that's for me kind of like a big learning curve to me, that actually kind of like right the ship as far as fishing national trails. Is like, all right, I didn't win a tournament, but I got my first 2-day limit, full 2-day limit, right? Like 10 fish, 5 each day. And it was like the first 4 hours of day one was just a mental struggle where I just wanted scream and just burn everything or sell everything on Facebook Marketplace. But you have to be, once you get that reset button, it kind of starts working out, and you kind of start figuring things out. Let's talk a little bit about, chronologically, your first KBN National Championship. What was that lake, and what, how did that win come about? Like, what happened leading up to that, you winning that trophy?
That was late, or the last year's national championship. It came about. It started in 2024. So it started in 2023 at actually the Bassmaster Kayak Series on Lake Guntersville. It was the same time of year. It was, I want to say, end of February, early March, and my buddy went out there, and we had the same cold front blow through as last year. We had 20 miles an hour wind out of the north. There were tornado warnings all over the place. I know somebody flipped their kayak and went down a culvert and lost. Like, it was.
Joe McElroy.
Yep. Yeah. It was chaos out there. And you were there.
I didn't see it. I saw the social media.
I saw the post about it. And I bombed in that tournament. I came in 70th out of 150. It was like, I don't know if I had a limit the second, or I didn't have a limit the first day. I had a limit the second day. I scrounged up a little bit. And coming into the KBF National Championship the next year, I was like, I'm not doing that again. I'm going to pick somewhere that is protected from the north wind. I'm going to pick somewhere that's ready for a cold front to hit. And a cold front hit with 20 mile an hour wind, and just kind of, being ready for that, kind of anticipating, like, this is the seasonal pattern. This is what normally happens this time of year, and picking an area that's got plenty of backup areas. Like, it was a staging. It was a huge cove that had lots of little staging areas and points and pockets right outside of spawning coves. And I was like, if the fish are starting to spawn, they can stop here. If they finish spawning and they're moving back out, they can stop in that exact same spot. And if the cold front hits, they're all going to be in that same spot. So you got three stages of the fish are going to be sitting in this little area. And I was like, I'm going to pick this area apart and not get blown away by the wind. So kind of just putting all of that together, picking all those areas. That's what made that difference there. And then just hammering over 3 days. I'm lucky it wasn't 4 days, because every single day my fish were getting farther and farther. The weather got nicer and those fish started leaving and going towards the bank, leaving my little staging areas. But yeah, putting all 3 of those days together was wild.
I think that's what a lot of people forget. The KBF National Championship, and I know I said KBF a couple of times, but KBF National Championship. Apologies for that. It's a 3-day tournament. It's not an easy. Whatever people say about KBF, that's not easy to catch 3 limits. 3 different days. It's not easy. And congratulations to you on that. What was so next was the Bassmaster. Well, first of all, Rob, do you have any questions about that tournament that you wanted to ask?
No. But I do have some others later, but no, keep on rolling.
Hey, is that really your son on the social media commenting right now? It says, hey, that's
one of them, yeah.
Oh, that's your son, Rob.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
Not mine, unless somebody has something to tell me.
Yeah, let's not go down that rabbit hole. But nah, just jokes aside. So the next tournament is the Bassmaster Kayak Series. I forgot what lake it was, but tell us about that tournament. What lake was it, and how do you manage to come
that
up?
That one was on Fork, and
Fork. That's right. Yeah.
And end of March, and I look for that same kind of stuff. I also picked something that was really far away from the boat ramp. That, looking back on now, so I've got an Old Town. I run the Autopilot 136, and it does about 4 miles an hour top speed. So I'm looking at this like, hey, we've got 30 minutes of run time. I can get about 2 miles away from the boat ramp. And then a couple weeks ago, I'm realizing, like, oh, everyone else has Torqeedos and they can do 8 miles an hour. So that's only 10 minutes for that. So I'm sitting there trying to get as far away from everybody as possible. And it's not even. So I picked a spot that was kind of, again, was going to be sheltered from the north wind. And it had a nice little road bed that ran right across in front of it. So it was, again, a staging area where these fish can stop on their way in, their way out. And then I also had to kind of deal with the fishing pressure out there, because that was Lake Fork in the spring is unreal.
Every day I've
Every
said
single
this on
day.
the podcast, Wyatt. I pre-fish a tournament on a Monday, and there is a boat
50 boats
tournament
out
on a Monday. It's not even the holidays. It's not even summer. It's like, who the heck is
Yep.
hosting a tournament on a Monday morning on a
We had-
weekday, no holiday?
Yep, they've got Monday, they've got Tuesday, they've got the Wednesday afternoon, they've got Thursday mornings. It's just insane. Like and plus to top it off, we had, I want to say it was like 30-mile-an-hour wind. It was 30 to 50-mile-an-hour wind that week. So every bass boat was tucked into any little protected corner. I remember I came around the corner because I was trying to get to an area, and I'm coming around the corner. I'm like, there's one boat, there's two boats. There's 4 boats. There's 6. I was like, there's 21 boats in this pocket right here. Where am I going to fish?
Well, I'm assuming most of them were forward-facing sonar guys in some offshore point.
You had people pinging minnows. You had guys bed fishing going down. You had the guides out there. You had
the crappy guys
fishing.
too on spring is horrible.
Yeah,
Dude.
And I'd gotten to that little roadbed spot first thing the very first morning. I rolled up to it and I caught a 22 in practice. I caught a 22 off of it, like my 3rd cast, and I was like, "That's awesome." I was like, "This is the spot where I'm going to fish," and I fished for the next 2 hours, didn't get a bite off of it. I was like, okay. So we will continue on from that, and I continued the rest of the week. I found bedfish that some people hadn't been fishing for, where, look in those kind of odd places where the guides are going to the back of the pockets. And I was looking for these little tiny shallow cuts that had fish here and there. Not a fan of bedfish.
No.
All right. Sorry to interrupt. Rob, you owe me something because I know this has to be you. Good Lord Almighty.
Oh God.
Oh,
that guy.
Oh God, we got the jabber hammer. Did you give him the how did you get the link to come up to this
guy
podcast?
in
Look,
here.
I don't need somebody to give me the link to be able to get on podcast. I got my ways. You're not as secure as you think you are. You should be using a VPN, Armando.
This is the second time this heathen comes up to the podcast.
Screen jacked.
Hey, I had to come on here. And say that I have Armando. I've known you forever. Love you. You're a handsome fella. You're growing your beard out. You look beautiful. We got Rob, the oilfield angler that we had on the podcast, and then we got my boy Wyatt here, who Wyatt's one of the best kayak anglers out there right now, and I had to help him set up his bait casters.
Oh,
one
so
day
you're
on
here
the water.
you just here to steal his lightning. That's all you're here for.
not
Draw
steal it.
attention away
I'm
from
saying
him and shining the spotlight on yourself. That's what you're
no.
doing.
I gave him
Be ashamed of
my lightning. I didn't have much to give, but what I had, I gave it to Wyatt.
Sparkler.
I lit that shit on the ramp one day and I gave it to him, and 35 seconds later it burned out and he threw it in the water, and from there on out he just started crushing it.
As much as I try not to get canceled, this sort of stuff keeps happening.
I hadn't even cussed yet, Armando.
Not yet. How's that garden gnome of your co-host doing? How's Alex?
He's over there with a guest because we're recording right now too. So he's over there with a guest that he has no idea who he is because I invited him on recording by himself because I had to come on here to say hey. And I hadn't talked to you in forever, and Wyatt doesn't ever call me anymore for fishing tips since he's up there and doesn't tell me when he's going fishing. So I had to come over and say fuck you, Wyatt. But, I'm just kidding. Hey, Wyatt, congratulations, man. Hell of a daggum year for 2 years running. People don't know what you did before that.
Thank you, man. Yeah.
All right, can we drop you now?
Yes, Armando, you can drop me, and you hadn't texted me in forever, and I hadn't texted you, and I feel like
I insult you on social media almost on a weekly basis.
You do.
So that's my love language.
All right, y'all have fun the rest of the day. Thanks for actually hitting the accept button, Armando. Y'all have fun. Congratulations,
my
Wyatt.
better judgment.
Rob, you're never getting invited to Bass Kayak and Beers again. Sorry.
I don't know anything.
I'm sure it was. All right, say hi to Alex.
See you, fellas. All right, bye later.
But I was just about to say that I met Rob on social media through the Bass and Brews podcast, and Captain Caveman and the Garden Gnome introduced me to Rob through social media.
Oh, man.
I love those guys.
Should have asked them for some of their sound bites that they had of me from from the KBS from the first championship down there on KBF.
Oh no, I've listened to that podcast every now and then I take a shower. But anyways, let's
refocus.
Let's rewrite this ship again.
Yeah.
Amidst all the.
It's not every day I get to talk one-on-one to the best of the best, right? So I'm going to soak it in, okay? So I'm glad you brought up the Traquito and that whole, motorized kayak thing. For guys like myself that want to invest in their next kayak for competitive fishing, how important or I guess a bit of a requirement for having a pedal drive in your kayak? I mean, would you consider it necessary or just a waste of, not a waste of money, but just focus more on the motor? Or
it's the heated seats in the car. It's nice to have. It's not. I would still fish without it. I fished without it for years. I fished a bunch of my first tournaments out of it. I won the first KBF championship, or my first KBF championship out of a pedal drive. I didn't even have the pedals in. I had I had the little insert in there. I was paddling it. It's not gonna stop you or do anything like that from getting where you're gonna go. If you're determined enough, you can make it work with the pedals.
I didn't want to necessarily pay that pedal tax. I'd rather, just spend the money on motorizing the boat, So yeah. I think that's the direction I'll go. Thank you.
If you can do it, great. If not,
my thoughts on as far as success related to a motorized kayak, like I found that with the motor, I get to cover more water, and henceforth I get to catch more fish. I don't think, like you said, you won the KBF National Championship without a motor. I think you can win any tournament without a motor. I think when you're talking about running for the AOY, that's where the big advantage is, because there's going to be times where you need to move a lot.
Yeah.
There may be times where you get them schooling and the motor is not going to play a factor at all. In fact, not having a motor may actually help you because you'll be more silent, more stealth. But I think over the long run of a season, having a motor is going to give you a better shot like an AOY than necessarily a national championship. That's my thought. Not that you can't win an AOY without a motor. But.
Yeah. It'll give you that confidence to go, I got bit on this point right here throwing a crankbait. There's another point, a mile and a half away. Let me go run over there. As opposed to if you have pedals, sometimes you're like, maybe that might be a little far away.
It's going to take you longer. It's going to take you like 30 minutes longer. Like that's 30 minutes, an average cast is 40 seconds, make the math. It's like maybe 20 more casts, so you actually get more casts on the water. You're making more casts when you have a motor because you're getting from point A to point B more effectively.
Yep.
And you're not wearing yourself out towards the end of the 8th hour kind of thing.
Yeah, I definitely could use the pedal driver to get the pounds off, but I need to get back into.
That's true though. I put on like 10 pounds since I got a motor. I'm not joking. That's why I'm doing the whiskey. I got to change the podcast to bourbon, kayak, and bass because I was like, I told my wife, it's like, you're not grabbing a beer, not for this episode. I need to lose weight. I just came out of this, Rob, because you gave me tips on my anniversary trip, but I just came from Big Bend doing hike, which is all you do is Big Bend is hike. Beautiful hikes, by the way. We'll talk about that later. But yeah, no, that's why I figured, I need to lose weight, buddy. Like I'm not. It's got me lazy. But anyways, so Bassmaster Kayak Series, you won. We talked about the KBF on your last year. This year, how did the KBF National Championship? How did that come about? How did that happen?
This year, I went I went into it knowing that I would need to have. It's Guntersville. It's the fall. I'm going to need to have 90 to 100 inches of fish a day. I'm gonna have to have 90 to 100 inches of fish, and I'd gone through places. There were schooling fish everywhere at the ramps that I put in, but all these schooling fish I kept catching 14 and 16 and 12 and then 14 again, and I kind of had to count that as like those don't exist. I had to just entirely write that off. And any time I would catch an 18 or 19, that's the information that matters. And it ended up where all of my chatterbait fish were 16, 17 inches out on the grass flats. And then I started skipping a jig on docks. I'd skip a jig on dock, and I caught a 19. I want to say it was a 19 3/4 in practice. And I was like, hold on. And I threw the jig back on the exact same dock and caught an 18 3/4. And it's like, okay, so this is what I need to start doing. And during the championship, I just, I'd start in the morning. I'd catch 1 or 2 fish on the chatterbait, just kind of like calm the nerves, a 15, 16 incher, just to kind of calm the nerves. And then I'd pick up a jig and start skipping docks and just go through it. And it was just, I fished 8 to 9 miles a stretch of docks each day. It's that same stretch, just run that same stretch every single day. And I'd hit each dock 1 or 2 casts, go to the next one, 1 or 2 casts. And it was hitting that part of the dock that nobody had fished. The darkest part, skipping a jig as far up under it as I could possibly get it. And there were solid fish under each of those. And if you had to like go up against the bank and bump against the rocks and get behind the dock where you could barely like cast sideways, that's where I was catching a lot of the fish, where just nobody else would go, just nobody else would put a lure. So it's just kind of looking for that little stuff where on a lake that's super pressured but has a ton of fish, where no one else is fishing, and getting those unpressured fish.
It's that mental game, man. That's awesome.
That's a good point. That's something that I've tried to implement into my game, is like, even when I'm not able to do it on my kayak, I would go to the Cabela's in Fort Worth, and I'll take a couple of I got 2 skipping rods, and then I'll take like a half ounce. I prefer a half ounce because I think
3/8 doesn't slide.
Yeah, 3/8 doesn't slide as much. So I've gotten used to it, and I've kind of dialed in the rod and the reel. But that's something that I work on. I'll just, even though I know I'm not going to catch anything, and I think that's what hasn't worked out for me yet, but I think that's what separates a lot of times with anglers from, maybe winning once in a blue moon to actually being consistent and winning national championship like you have done, is that, are you willing to go to your local pond like I do? And again, I haven't had that success. I'm hoping it translates in the future. But are you willing to sacrifice 2 or 3 hours of your day, knowing you're going to kind of catch a fish, to actually just work on a tactic, just so you'll be better at it, especially one that involves like skills in casting? Like skipping a jig is not easy. Skipping a Senko on a spinning reel is a lot easier. But when you're fishing docks, you can't always rely on light tackle. So you need to learn to skip that jig. And I'm glad you brought that up, because that's something I've worked on. It's like, and I remember our tournament on Lake Fork for the, Slay Nation, where I came in second to Mark Pendergraph. And I practiced skipping a jackhammer on their docks. I didn't have the foresight to think, well, let me buy a cheaper chatterbait that's the same size and I won't lose as much in practice. So I lost like $50 in jackhammers, because you're gonna get hung up, right? I should have gotten a cheap bladed jig, sacrifice those on practice, but I didn't. But I worked hard enough on it. Then when it came tournament day, that's where I think 3 of my top fish came out of. It's just skipping a jackhammer through docks in Lake Fork, and got me second place and the big bass of that tournament. So you have to stomach that if you want to have the success. Obviously, if you have, like, again, I know we're beating a dead horse, but 3 national championships in a row, that happens because you were able to sacrifice that. It's that practice time.
Yep. Give you a hint for skipping that jig. Where is it? Cut the top off.
Oh yeah.
cut the top off. It'll slide a lot easier.
So let me ask you this: what is your favorite? Now that we've kind of gone through that rabbit hole, what is your favorite jig to skip? Which is that one? Like
that one right there. So
Can
that one I won the TKS on Murray, the first TKS Team Kayak Series on Murray. That's what I used on Fork. That's what I used on Nickajack whenever we won. That's what I used on Gunnersville. I was like, that's the one right there.
What is it?
So I make these myself.
Oh, you make them yourself?
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, that's why it's got the blue on there. It's just a rubber, just living rubber. With the
That's a key.
okay.
Yeah, that little living rubber, and then cutting that head off so it'll skip. Yep.
So when you say cutting that head off, what do you mean? Like the
So do I have a full one? So instead of
skirt?
having
Is it the top part of the skirt that folds back?
see the top part?
Yeah. There's like a finesse presentation.
Yep.
Kind of.
Oh, okay.
Yep. Instead of having you just take the top part and just cut it off. That way you only have the bottom. It'll skip a lot. It'll skip a lot better.
I think it exposes the head of the jig more, right?
Yeah.
Do you
It lets it sit. It'll let it sit on the bottom. Let's see. There you go. It'll help kind of hide the hook or hide the jig head, and it makes everything stand up on the bottom.
Oh, that's
all those little strands will catch. Yep.
So what did you mold? Do you mold your own jigs, or
I buy the jig heads. I just buy the jig heads in bulk, little tungsten jig heads, and then the rubber and the skirts and
yeah.
Yep.
Do you feel like a tungsten jig head makes a huge difference versus a lead jig head as far as skipping goes?
Skipping, yes. For rocks and things like that, I try and go with lead because it's got a bigger head and it won't get stuck, won't fall into the rock crevices as much.
That's
I'm okay with that. But for skipping a jig and where you're going to be dinging it off, all kinds of stuff, yeah.
And it's more expensive too.
Yeah, these are about $3 for just the jig head. So all in, if I not counting how long it takes me to actually tie them, it's about the same as just buying a jig, and I can customize this one and make it exactly how I want.
Yeah, that's yours, man. That's like I don't know,
but
extra
fun. Now that's a good point. How does it feel that you winning tournaments, you catching big bass on a bait that you made yourself? What's that level of satisfaction?
Feels like I'm doing something right. It gives me a little bit extra confidence, like knowing that like this is I've made this exactly the way that I want it. I know how the hook is going to work. I know how the wire guard. I know how to pull it through trees without getting it hung up. I know how it's going to skip. I know everything how this exact jig is going to work in the water, and I know how and where to put it.
Do you use a specific? Do you buy a jig head specifically designed for skipping?
So that one's just a regular Arky. So let's see, that one's just the regular Arky head with the straight up and down. And I found, I can't put it in front of the camera, there you go, that this one will come through cover better than the horizontal. This one will come through trees and everything better than the horizontal. The horizontal will come through rock better. So this straight up and down head will roll over a lot of sticks and stuff. And whenever you're fishing docks, there's a lot of brush piles up under docks and things. Yeah. And I got so frustrated throwing a horizontal head under docks for years. I kept throwing them under there and just getting them hung up and things like that. And I finally switched over to that straight up and down line tie, and it just rolls right over everything. I can fish through brush piles all day long.
There you go. That is your juice for the episode. That is interesting. I never thought. So when you say horizontal, you're talking about the
line,
the island, right?
Line tie, yep.
Yeah, line tie
being straight up and down, as opposed to it being, I don't have any around here.
That's interesting. I've never thought that would play a factor, but it makes sense.
Yeah, it's like if you get the chance to go out there, bring one of each and throw them into a brush pile until they get hung up. This one will come through a whole lot more. This one will come through a whole lot better.
That's interesting.
Yep.
I think that's what all this practice and time in the water helps you develop. It's I walk into my fish room, right, and I'm like, okay, I've got 18 rods or whatever, but they all have their own personality. You're like, okay, in this situation, I want to use this and this and this. Man, that little tip there, I mean, that's just a product of your time on the water. I think that's invaluable.
It helps me move a lot faster too, because I know that if I put this in front of a fish, it's going to eat it.
Yeah.
It might not, but if I in my head, if I put this in front of a fish, it's going to eat it. So I can, throw it in there, bounce once or twice, reel it in, throw it in there, bounce once or twice, reel it in, and say, if there's a fish in there, he should have eaten this. I'm not questioning my lure choice.
Plus, I'm sure they know who you are. They're like, I want to be on social media. Jump on this guy's hook. Yeah.
But you know what? Other thing that I commend you on is the attention to detail. Like, most people figure it out, would just say, well, I got hung up because there's more brush pile. But you put enough time and effort and thought into realizing, hey, the way the line tie with the orientation, whether it's horizontal or vertical, makes a difference. Yeah. I don't know that out of angers, I would have never thought that would make a difference. But listening to you, and that's one of the big perks of having a podcast, is talking to an expert like you and learning from that, because you put the time and thought into putting that puzzle together. It's just like, this is a small piece of a puzzle, but it is part of a puzzle. It's like, all right, horizontal when I'm skipping it versus vertical, or vice versa. Yeah, vice versa, I should say. That's good, man. That I did not expect something like that to make a big difference. That is awesome.
Talking with everybody is how I figure all this. Like, I was talking to Abby and Jody a couple weeks ago, and they were telling me the difference. There's a difference between a jackhammer and Evo. An Evo will come through wood. The jackhammer will come through grass. So whenever I go to Kissimmee, whenever I go fishing Bassmaster next year, I'm going to bring actual jackhammers, and then whenever we go somewhere like, Caddo or anything, I'm going to switch over to the Evos, because they know it. They are so dialed in on a chatterbait that it's unreal. So if they say an Evo is going to roll over wood better, I'm going to try it.
Listening to Jody Quinn break down a technique or a bait, anybody out there, go Google Jody Quinn or on some podcast and everything. He is just a savant when it comes to that. Him and Russ Snyder are the two of the guys. Is like, if they're breaking out technique, I want to hear what they have to say, because they're so good at explaining it. It's amazing.
We're letting Russ look at my tackle box, and he's just pouring over every single thing, every single little minute detail of, why does this do this? Why are you choosing this one? Why? He's got all the questions, and I think asking all those questions is what's made him, the ultimate angler out there.
And it's one thing to know it, another thing is to explain it.
Yeah.
And I mean, they're so good at it. It's picking their brains on anything. It's like, if you get that opportunity, don't pass it up, because you're going to learn a lot, and it's going to translate into your success.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Rob, you got any follow-up questions? Go ahead.
Yeah, you mentioned, your tournament trails and whatnot. How do you manage that? I'm sure, like everyone else, you've got bills and life away from kayak fishing and whatnot. You have a job, you talk to, how do you manage that to balance both, be successful at both? I mean, if you could give anyone else, just tips or recommendations, because you're living it, what would that be?
Being real nice to your boss, making sure that they approve all your time off.
AKA your wife too.
Yeah. Well, I'm single, so.
There you go. Looking for you. We got a smart guy in the room here.
Yeah. I invited my boss, in fact, to watch this, so I'm hoping he's watching and get time off. That's cool. Okay.
Yeah, I'd say getting the time off, getting all that. It's a lot. I've got one of our friends around here, Don Trail. He, as the tournament trails come out, he gives us an entire list of all the local trails, all the tournament trails, everything like that, with dates and things like that, and who overlaps with who and stuff like that. And you don't think it's that much, but it ends up being like this, 80 item, Excel spreadsheet of all the tournament trails and things like that, and trying to get all those squared away. And really, really big part is finding people to travel with, friends to travel with, because you can't get a hotel by yourself every single time. You go broke doing it. But Airbnbs are absolutely amazing. I'll say everybody chipping in for food, everybody chipping in for Airbnbs, just getting to hang out with everybody, and then building all those friendships. That's the ultimate part of it. That's what allows me to do it, is having that support group out there.
Those relationships, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, support groups will make a huge part on
Yeah.
being able to, grow as an angler and achieve greatness as you have.
Yeah. So like even the guy I travel with for TKS, Justin, he's the reason that I would say he's the reason that I won the Hero Cup the day after the national championship. He's the reason that I won that, because we have opposite fishing styles for TKS. So that's kind of why we picked each other as partners. Is I love the jig, he loves the chatterbait. So I will pick things up. I will pick individual things apart, and he'll pick big areas apart. And one of us will have fish. One of us will have the fish, and we can kind of dial that in. And he's savant with a chatterbait. Like that's all he fished was chatterbait. Everything was a chatterbait. And I'm sitting there like, how in the world are you catching fish on a chatterbait? And I was like, how are you doing this with a chatterbait? And just fishing next to him throughout this year and watching him do it. Now I have an entire box full of chatterbaits. I've got a chatterbait specific rod. And that final day on the Hero Cup, I was sitting there throwing a jig, and I lost 6 fish back to back on the jig. Like they just pulled off and came off, or they'd thump it and I'd swing and miss. And I sat down to retie, and I was sitting there like mentally like, what is happening here? And the fish started schooling off to my right, and I was sitting there looking at them, watching the fish school, and I was like, those kind of look like some decent fish. It's like, I haven't caught anything. I've lost 6. So I put the jig rod down, pick up a chatterbait rod, went over there and caught like 90 inches in 10, 15 minutes on the chatterbait.
Wow.
Like, so
wow.
Just learning from him and fishing with those guys, fishing with people who fish differently from me. Just that just helped to grow over the years.
Yeah, it's kind of like Iron Shepherd sound, like your yin to your yang kind of thing. Like you want to, like especially in the Team Kayak series, when you're able to pair up with somebody. And I'm assuming you're talking about Justin Larger, right?
Justin Faircloth.
Oh, I'm sorry, Justin. What?
Faircloth.
Oh yeah, I know who that is.
Yeah.
So being able to feed off each other and kind of learn. I remember talking to Dan Perry, who used to host the Advanced Kayak Angler on this podcast as well. He said back then it was the KBB, no, not KBBT, KFL, Kayak Fishing League.
Oh yeah.
Fishing in team of 5s. It was like he's like that. Put his game to another level where next season he won, I think he either won 3 AOYs in 1 year in Alabama, or I think he won 2. I think he won 2 AOYs and came up second in the 3rd tournament, which, that's, considering it's Alabama, that is not easy to do, but it's that learning, when you fish in the Team Kayak series, is like, it's not like any other tournament. Everybody's individual. You want to keep the juice to yourself because you don't want to give out something that's going to cost you. But in the Team Kayak series, you have to share in order if you want to win as a team, like feed off of each other. So that's a huge advantage when you can translate what you've learned from Justin into individual events, such as
it worked a little bit too well because he won the challenge series fishing my jig.
Well, there you go. Yeah, that's the 2-part.
He beat me in the challenge series fishing my jig.
So let me ask you this: you obviously your strong point is a jig. What would you say is the weakest part of your game, or something that you wish you could improve on to take? I don't know how you take it to the next level after winning 3 championships. What would you think you can get better at?
If I can maintain, that would be awesome. Like the super finesse stuff, the Nico rigs, the stuff like Nico rigs, TRDs, things like that. I drop shot. I'm on. Like I can throw a shake. I like throwing a shaky head, but that like uber finesse stuff.
Is it like a patience thing, or just complete opposite style from what you do with
patience? It's got patience, because even this, I fish it super fast, like insanely fast.
Hey, it's worked out. Nobody's gonna deny the result. Nobody's gonna deny it or question it with those 2 results, of course. now that you've accomplished this, like, what do you feel is next for you? Do you feel like winning an AOY or winning the Team Kayak Series? What do you think is next on your bucket list of goals?
Like Bassmaster AOY would be the it's the penultimate, even kind of, I consider it over the national championship, because it rewards consistency throughout the year.
Yeah.
You can't just have one great tournament or one great day or anything like that. You have to have all great days, and you have to have great days against the Russ Snyder, against the Garrett Wades, against Abby, against Jody. I mean, against Casey. Like, the list of just awesome anglers is so long that, and then you've got to go up north and you've got to fish against Bailey and all those guys up north, and it's like,
he's a monster up in New York.
Yeah. Like, you've got to be good everywhere. So, like, hey, Bassmaster AOY would probably be the penultimate thing that I can shoot for.
Well, good luck, man.
Well,
so for those that are watching live, if you have any questions, please put them up on the comments section. We'll gladly get to your questions. But Rob, you have any more questions for Wyatt?
So I've got more of an opinion that I'm looking at. So BFS fishing, bait finesse fishing, it's I don't know if you want to call it a fad or whatnot, but do you think, because I know a lot of people that catch big fish on these micro baits or whatnot, do you think that'll ever translate into tournament life, I guess, so to speak?
So I'd say sporadically.
Yeah.
So like Havasu, Bassmaster Havasu last year, I think Drew won it throwing a finesse craw. I think it was like one of the Z-Man little finesse craws, something along those lines. He was throwing something really finesse out there when it's, the guys are struggling. Like, even the top 10 was struggling to catch a limit, like stuff like that. Yeah,
I got you. So I guess there you go.
Yeah, I mean, in the world of forward facing, it's kind of like forward facing kind of takes over the BFS, because before forward facing, when the power fishing guys were struggling and all the big bait stuff was struggling, you could go to the BFS and catch fish. But now, whenever the power fishing is struggling, you can still go out and shake a minnow in front of enough fish, and something's going to bite it.
Yeah, I guess there you
go.
Yeah,
it's almost like when you look at those elite tournaments, it's like very randomly do you see now people just going to power fishing first and having forward facing zone as a backup. It's more like, well, now the rules have changed, right? But before the rule changes, it was like, we're going directly into forward facing sonar, and if that doesn't work, then we'll change it. But that was the go-to. Yeah. Since we're on that rabbit hole, what are your thoughts on forward facing sonar as far as the application on tournaments? Do you feel like that's something that should be allowed on tournaments, or do you feel like that's something that should be left off?
Yeah, I mean, I'm here for it. I've got it. I used it here and there. I used it at Champlain for Bassmaster, and I feel like I use it in pretty unconventional ways. But it's a tool, just like when side scan came out and everybody got mad at me for fishing. Whenever I had a boat, everybody got mad at me for fishing offshore in one of the lakes around here. It's just, I went out there and I rode around and I got figured out how to use side scan really well. It's one of those tools. You put time in the water and learn how to use it. It can you can stare at a screen all day and not catch fish. You can stare at a screen and catch fish, just like anything else.
Yeah,
that's a good point.
I love that MLF format where you can use it for a period and then that's it. So that is part of your strategy or whatnot, but you still have to rely on your fishing instincts.
Dude, I had it. I was using it at Gunnersville in practice, and I used it, I think, I want to say on day 2 for first thing in the morning, because I found schools of just hundreds of fish, but I couldn't catch anything over 14 to 16 out of it. I could have sat there all day and caught fish that were 14 inches until my arms fell off, but ended up turning off the graphs entirely and putting all that stuff away. Kind of learning when to turn it off and when to turn it on.
And I think that's when that debate comes up. I think there's a different conversation when we're talking about kayak bass fishing than in general, not just KBF, but kayak bass fishing in general, towards an elite Bassmaster elite tournament, because there's the aspect of marketing through television rights. Like,
Yeah.
then the question begins: is it appealing to the
To watch.
TV audience to
Yeah.
watch you yo-yo a Demickey rig, the whole tournament? So that's a different conversation. Now that goes to like, well, who is your your responsibility or your duty towards? Is it the audience that's paying for the entry fees and bringing in TV rights and commercial sales and all that, and or is it the anglers? Whereas kayak bass fishing, there's no TV rights. It's not at the moment. We hope it will change,
Unfortunately,
but
yeah.
it's not televised, so it's just it's a different feel for it. It's like
Yeah.
that aspect, that conversation, that argument, that debate is not part of the kayak bass fishing tournament side,
Yeah.
because we don't have to worry about that. It's just whether the anglers want it or not. And I
Yeah,
don't see it going away with kayak.
I think it's viewed. People view it as it's a pay to win with the kayak on the kayak side, where if somebody has forward facing, they're going to win because they have it.
I think, and I've said this, and I apologize to people that listen to my podcast and have heard me beat this drum so many times, but I'll say it again. I think there are more anglers out there cheating themselves out of money because they insist on using forward-facing sonar on the kayak than there are anglers that win. Like, yes, you win minor, and it's not to take anything away from your minor, because forward-facing forward or not, your minor is one of the best anglers out there.
Yeah.
But the fact that he's just a young fellow that is in tune with technology and can implement that as his arsenal takes him to a next level.
Yeah.
So obviously, there are maybe a handful of anglers that forward-facing sonar is playing a part in having their success. But I think for the most part, most people that kayak bass fishing anglers are cheating themselves out of it because they feel like, I need to validate this $3,000 investment.
Yeah, time on the water, just spending more time on the water is worth more than just buying a unit hoping it's going to catch fish.
Exactly. Jordan Marshall didn't want AOI for Hobie without even using a fish finder. Like, he didn't use a fish finder until he got up to Sweden, or I think, and fished for the Hobie Worlds. I can't remember, it's Poland, Sweden, or Denmark, somewhere in that part of the world. That's the first time he used a fish finder, not a forward-facing sonar, just a fish finder in general.
Fish finder in general.
That's amazing. So that's the argument to kind of like validate what you just said, Wyatt.
Yeah, it can be done. Russ goes out there and kicks our butt year after year after year after year on the Susquehanna River, and he's not using a depth finder.
Yeah. So many anglers out there. Guillermo Gonzalez is one that doesn't rely on it that much either. I don't think he relies on it at all. Matthew Scott. The list goes on and on. But
that's what's great about fishing, though.
Yeah.
You follow your instincts or follow the technology. Whatever works for you. Just have confidence in it, kind of like a confidence bait.
Yeah. Let's listen to the fish.
Yeah. I think in tuning with nature is what, like what you just said, Wyatt. It's like kind of like picking up little clues here and there is what's going to help you.
Yeah.
Like, it should not be the end game for you to learn forward-facing sonar. It should be a tool to validate what you already know. It just helps you kind of put it together, but not the.
I will say with this, having forward-facing taught me just seeing how the fish react is one of the cool things. Yeah. So I fish Lake Norman a lot, and Lake Norman has 500 million docks on it. It's just docks every 20 feet. And I used to go through and I'd skip a jig under each, you go from pole to pole to pole and skip the jig, and go to the next pole and skip the jig, and go to the next pole, skip the jig. And then I put forward facing on and I skip the jig under the dock, and you watch all the fish from the whole dock come swim over to it. And I'm sitting there like, why do I have to sit there and throw under each one? I just throw it up under there. And if the fish swim, they're going to come from 10 feet away, even in dirty water. They would come the whole thing from the whole dock, and that just sped all my dock fishing up 1,000%, because now I make one cast, maybe two, go to the next dock, one cast, maybe two, and all the fish will swim to it. It's the wildest thing, where it's kind of taught me fish behavior. So
it streamlines and makes you more efficient.
Yeah.
As someone, just hearing what you said, I've never used forward facing sonar. Not on my kayak, just on friends' boats. But Rob, you have any other questions for it?
No, I'm good. Well, no, you know what? I take it back. I'm going to take advantage of this time, right? I'm purchasing my next kayak, my competitive kayak, soon. One model. What do you recommend?
It's a good question.
I would say autopilot 120.
Okay, gotcha.
Yep.
All right.
So I love the 136. It's big. I don't need that much space. I'm kind of a super minimalist. Whenever probably not super minimalist, but I'm a minimalist. Whenever I go out there, I bring five to six bags of soft plastics and one maybe two, like the 3,600 boxes, the little tackle boxes are like that big, and four rods. So I try not to bring too much stuff with me. I've got a 136, and I feel like I'm wasting a little bit of space in the back. Yeah. 120 would just be a little bit easier to move around. Still has the same motor, still just as fast. Gets you everything that you need to do. It's got spot lock on it, plenty of room. That would be my choice.
Got it. Appreciate that.
And shout out to Old Town for putting it out there that your accomplishment. That's one thing that I haven't used in Old Town, but I love that their social media. Like, they really care about who's on their team, and
Carson guys do.
They back you up. When you made your success, they're putting it out there on social media. Hey, this is our guy, and this is what he's done. So shout out to Old Town for doing that. That's good. Yeah. I got one question before I let you go. So we talked about, I'm assuming your favorite technique is skipping jigs. We talked about how you make your jigs. Yeah. Great information there, but somewhere we got sidetracked and I forgot to ask you. I want you to break down your rod and reel combo, and even including line. Like, what's your rod that you use for that? What model, weight, action, and why you pick that rod for skipping, and what reel do you use, what speed, and what line do you use, and why? Like, break it down. What your setup.
Statistics the whole way. So the reel will probably be the simplest part. The reel is a Shimano Metanium, and I use that on the high gear ratio. Obviously, the XG model, it's like 8.3 to 1. So that one, just because it's insanely smooth. Shimano's are insanely smooth. I always tell people every reel is smooth out of the box. I'm not sponsored by Shimano, but here's the pitch. Every reel is smooth out of the box, or you go in the store and you spin the handle, they're all smooth. Shimano is still smooth a year later, whereas some brands not so much. And then the rod is a Loomis NRX 894, so it's a 7.5 heavy fast action.
That's a long rod.
Yep. I stand for a lot of it, and I use it for casting. I use it for casting a jig, skipping a jig, all of it. And I went with that one because instead of an extra fast, because swinging on jig fish, sometimes you're hitting them a little hard, and an extra fast would be a little bit too stiff. Yeah. You might rip the hooks out a little bit more, especially with 20-pound test. Maybe that fish is 15 feet away from you and you crack them. You don't want to rip a giant hole in their mouth or anything. You just want it to stick. So it's just fast action rod. Doesn't fold over all the way, but still got plenty of power to it. And then the line, it varies. Most of the time I'm using 16-pound Sunline Sniper if I can. If at Gunnersville I was throwing up under those docks, so I went up to 20-pound Sunline Sniper, but 90% of the time it's 16.
And that's I'm sorry, you might have mentioned, I missed it. Is it fluorocarbon, braid, or
fluorocarbon?
Yeah, fluorocarbon. You don't like braid for
only on spinning rods and frog punching. Yep.
Interesting. Do you feel like that's an interesting point? I know a lot of anglers, myself included, and hey, I haven't won 3 national championships, so I'm not arguing with success. But I feel like fluorocarbons has so much given it when it comes to like a jig that I feel like I'm going to lose that. Do you ever feel like, is there a reason why you would prefer a fluoro, knowing that has a little bit more give than a braid? Is there something that you don't like about braid other than maybe, it tends to get snagged a little bit more on timber?
Pros and cons for it. Braid will get snagged in the timber a little bit. If you backlash it skipping a jig, you're kind of SOL on that one. I like I like that, fluorocarbon is clear. So as opposed to braid where you can see it, I don't trust. I want to get as few. I want to have as few, options or a few things that can break as possible. So if I'm doing braid, I would put a leader on there, and that's just an extra knot in the line that I have to check and maintain and things like that. I retie religiously. I mean, I probably retie 30 to 40 times a day whenever I was fishing those docks. I mean, after every single fish, if I hit a dock more than 3 times, I'm retying, just making sure that everything is 100% perfect, trying to remove all of every thing that could possibly go wrong. I'm trying to remove that out of the equation. Like, I don't want to accidentally break off because I forgot to retie and I skipped the jig and the jig hit the knot or something on the dock, or everything that I can take out of the equation. I'm gonna try and do that.
Very meticulous.
Eliminate the variables.
Yeah. Did you mention the I forgot the words that I wanted to say, but eliminating the variables. That's perfect, Rob.
Yeah.
I don't know. Did you mention the action? Did you mention the weight on the?
It's a heavy action rod.
Heavy action rod.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's the key there. Like, if you're gonna use fluorocarbon, I think you have to go to a heavy action rod. Like, I don't think you can skip with a medium action on a jig and use fluorocarbon. I think you will lose way too many fish.
Yeah, this doesn't have a super heavy weed guard. I made sure this has a really, really soft weed guard on it. So I don't have to crack them as hard. I could pull into a bunch of them. Yeah. I can pull set into a bunch of them. I had one of my 19 3/4. The 19 3/4 I caught on the national championship day at Gunnersville. I skipped the jig up under the dock, bounced it a couple times, and there was a PVC pipe about an inch under the water, and I was just lifting it, and I'd gotten the rod kind of behind my head up there, and the jig just hit that PVC and rolled right over it, and that fish came up and ate it while I've got the rod all the way back here, and I just kind of reeled down and did this, and that hooked the fish. Whereas if I had a super heavy weed guard on there.
Yeah.
Michael Bradley 25 says, I retie every time I break off. Michael, let me start by saying that you and I are on the same boat. I retie when I break off, and that's why you and I, Michael, have not won a national championship. Well, maybe Michael has, and I don't know about it. But again, I'm not saying that as an insult. I'm with you on that. I retie when I break off, and it cost me a couple of big bites. So
yeah,
but yeah, that's
everybody in the world has that story.
Yeah, it's the part that makes. I think it's the little things that it's not. You haven't won 3 national championships by accident, right? Like, that doesn't happen out of luck. So it's those little things, that little building blocks, that being very meticulous about line ties and very meticulous about whether the line tie is horizontal or vertical, like we talked about, or like you talked about. Those are the little building blocks, a little bit here, a little bit there, that transforms into, time on that comes with time, but byproduct of time on the water. And the byproduct of that is winning 3 national championships. Like, that's the part of it that it's most admirable. Like, oftentimes we think of ourselves like, well, I kind of got to figure it out. Let me just go out there and, throw a bomb cast of bait thinking that we're going to win the tournament. I think to get it to the level that you are right now, you need to work on those little things, like little building blocks is what makes big success. Life is in the details, I've always said.
Yep, the why of it, and kind of like breaking down that, what size fish do I need? What am I looking for?
And before I let you go, and if Rob doesn't have any more questions, I wanted to ask you this, because obviously you've kind of made history, or you've made history with the accomplishments that we've said many times during this hour and 15 minutes that we've been talking. How do you rank yourself when we're talking about the Duke Gregorys, Russ Snyders, Ewan Miners, Christine Fishers of the world?
Not even on that list.
Oh, come on. You might be on the top of that list, but Abby Hammonds, obviously, I forgot to mention Abby, who just won AOI.
Oh, any time I feel like I can compete with those guys is that's what I shoot for. I mean, if I can be around them, then that's kind of what I strive for. I don't want to go out there and just bomb. Like it's a personal thing for me, where like that first KBF event that I ever fished, it had 160 170 people in it, and I came in 20th, and I was beating my head against a wall, just kind of like being super competitive. Super competitive. A lot of people would be happy with it, and I'm beating my head against the wall, driving home with the radio off and all of that. But I still like I room with Russ and Garrett at the thing. I'm still like, Russ is dangerous any time I get him near the water. Anytime he's near the water, so I'd say Russ is still number one out there. I'd say.
Yeah, no, Russ is at another. Him and you and mine, I think they're at a different level.
And then at the Lake Fork Championship, Ewing had that like 24 or something on that he caught, and I watched him put that up, and I was like, oh god, he's starting to catch fish.
No, it's again, congratulations, Wyatt, on an amazing season. We kind of talked about your success, and what you have on your bucket list next, and you mentioned the AOY. We hope that comes true, and again, we wish you the best, man. It's an amazing feat. I'm glad you got in the recognition that you will on this podcast and next week on Wendell's podcast, which I encourage anybody to listen to once you're there, and on any other podcast that you're on. Congratulations, man. You've earned every bit of it, and
thank you guys. Thank you guys.
Looking forward to your success.
Yeah,
I mean, it's nice talking to you.
Yeah.
Awesome talking to you. Rob, I went there and went and followed you on there. If you got any questions or anything like that, feel free to let me know.
Did we just become best friends?
Was that the
man, for real? I appreciate
Step Brothers movie.
Yeah, I appreciate your thought processes, and like you mentioned, it's a lot of the little things that make the big differences, and I'm out there trying to learn every single day. So thank you.
Yep. Man.
All right.
If y'all ever come this way, let me know. I know I'll be at Caddo twice next year. So,
which tournaments are you going to be there for?
So we've got TKS and Bass.
Oh yeah.
So I think Bass is going in April or so, and then TKS is going in August. I know where you. I know exactly where you're fishing in that intro video. I caught a fish off those trees right next together.
I don't mind leaving that. I love that part of the lake, but when it comes to tournament, I don't think it holds the quality that you need to win a tournament.
They get picked over in practice.
No, and it's like the times I fished that area. I'm not gonna say the name, but I've done well. But it's a high 80s, low 90s, which is not gonna win it. Yeah. I just went down there last week. Took a buddy of mine. Well, 2 weeks ago, took a buddy of mine and caught some big fish out there. It's funny. One of the things that I've known that part of the lake so well, so I was trolling him because he was getting skunked. Shout out to Brandon and Allen. And I told him, "You see that stump over there? How much you want to bet I'm going to catch a fish now?" And I literally flipped on it, and I caught a 14-incher, and he's like, "You suck." I told you I was going to catch one there. But I don't think that's why I don't mind sharing it, because I don't think anybody that fishes that area, you're going to get a limit, but it's just not going to be enough to win it. I don't think that area of the lake holds enough. Now it's in April, so it's spawning season, so that may change, because the main part of the lake is where the big fish are. It's not necessarily the best place for spawning.
Yeah.
But we'll see.
Yep.
But it's always Bistineau. What's interesting? It's going to include Bistineau, which I hate when there's two lakes. I want everybody on one same lake body of water.
TKS is only doing Caddo, but I think Bass is doing both. Yeah.
But I understand, why they're including Bistineau. Kind of spreads the field. Here's what a lot of people don't know, and a tip for anybody that's fishing it. Bistineau, if you're fishing it doing duck season where they draw down the lake in Bistineau, it's if they draw down the lake, remove water for duck hunters, which they do from what I understand, every season in Lake Bistineau, and you're fishing a tournament during that time, whoever is fishing Lake Bistineau has the high percentage to win. Like that's last year, I think. Was it last year? When Gene
last year when
Jensen, Fluke
yeah,
Master,
yeah,
he was fishing Bistineau. Like
yeah,
every
it was,
time they have it during the dog season drawdown, whoever's fishing it or whoever wins is going to be fishing out of it. But in April, I don't think there's going to be that's going to be at level. So it's harder to fish that way. So that's
yeah.
where I think somebody from Caddo is going to win it. But not to say you can't win it on Bistineau. It just makes it a little bit more of a level playing field than it does on October and November.
Yeah. Yep. I'm gonna be on Caddo and I'll be launching probably at that launch right there.
Well, and are you gonna? God, I hate mentioning this because I'm shooting myself in the foot, and everybody that fishes tournaments is like, "Why would you tell Wyatt Hammonds that?" But the Saturday before, the week before the tournament, where you can start pre-fishing for the Bassmaster Kayak Series, the Texas Bass Nation has a tournament which I'm going to be a part of that Saturday. So if you're down there, you're going to be pre-fishing the Saturday before the tournament. You can take part of that Texas Bass Nation, which I hope you don't.
I was about to say you are shooting.
Yeah, I don't know why I'm saying this.
There is a trophy on there somewhere from Caddo.
Yeah. So if you want to do that, go ahead and do that. So I'm sure a lot of my Texas peeps are going to be upset. Why would you tell that to Tim Hammonds? Just keep it to yourself. Before I let you go Wyatt, I want you to, well, before that, because I want to end this in a good note. And what I'm about to say, it's kind of a side news. I don't know if you all follow, for those that are watching, listening, either watching live or listening on the MP3 format when we upload it. Mikey Rijevec, I'm sure I mispronounced his last name. Famous YouTube or social media angler that does a lot of saltwater fishing from his kayak. Great content creator, reminds me a little bit, without exaggerating and being a little bit more organic, but it reminds me a lot of like, oh, damn, I forgot the name. Who's that? Mike Iaconelli. Reminds me a little bit of Mike Iaconelli as far as his energy goes. Now, Mike Rijevec, I think he's more organic when it comes to where I think sometimes Ike kind of plays it off a little bit. But if you ever watch his YouTube channel, he just passed away. The news that we got, I'm reading it after 5 days of searching for him. They found his skiff turned out or upside down on the water. So he's presumed. I don't know if they have found the body by now.
They found him.
So they did. Did they find the body? So sad news. We've had too many of those this year. I don't know. It's because the people that have passed away either are fishing on a big stage like the Bassmaster Kayak Series in Toledo, or they're famous content creators like Mikey. But it's just sad news. Thoughts and prayers to Mike's friends and family that have been devastated by his loss. He was just a great content creator. He brought the energy. You can tell the joy in his face and in his voice when he caught a big fish, when out there saltwater fishing in his skiff on his kayak, and it was just a joy to watch him. So again, he's Southern California, I think he used to fish at. So sad news to see that happen, and again, thoughts and prayers to his family and friends.
Definitely.
But I wanted to start off with that, so I wouldn't end with a sad note, but I forgot, and I didn't want to let this go through because I just wanted to acknowledge his passing away.
This reminder. I mean, I think that he had his life jacket on, but
yes,
reminder: always wear a life jacket. Float plan. Let people know when and where you're going, where you're going to be back. I do some crazy stuff, like I bring an EPIRB with me whenever I bring an EPIRB and a radio. It's just an emergency locator beacon for the Coast Guard. Even when I'm fishing freshwater, especially when I'm fishing saltwater, I put it on my life jacket. But
yeah, definitely. When you're saltwater fishing, that takes us to another level. Just weather and big fish and all that. It's a little more of a of I don't know, like I said, just takes it to a next level as far as safety goes. But anyways, before I let you go, why do you want to thank anybody or give props to any of the companies that kind of help you?
Gotta thank Old Town. Gotta thank those guys, Ryan, Carson. A couple of years ago, they had an open application for their pro team, and I applied to get on their pro team, and they let me on there. They had a qualification to make it to their national pro team, and luckily through KBF, I qualified for that. And they're they're absolutely awesome guys. I love Old Town. I say if you ever come to North Carolina, I'll let you. I've got a kind of a fleet of them. I'll let you try out any of them that you want. And that's to anybody that comes around North Carolina. Shoot me a message or anything like that. I'll get you in pretty much any of the Old Town kayaks that they have, and let you try those things out. But yeah, the team has been absolutely awesome. Like Casey and all the guys, we all go to all these tournaments. We all have spare parts. We all fix each other's kayaks whenever they break down. Just kind of having that support group is really, really cool. And
they're lucky to have you, man.
Yep. And also can't forget Gabby. she's the one who kind of keeps me mentally stable out there on the water. She's whenever my wheels and stuff are falling off, it's kind of keeps me sane. I lose a fish or things like that, and I tell her I'm not catching fish, and she says, start catching fish. I lost a fish. I broke this off. I did something dumb, and stop doing that. Do something else. So
it kind of simplifies it for you and walks you out of the ledge.
Yep. I'm sitting out there losing my mind, and why am I losing fish? Why am I losing fish on the jig? Well, stop throwing the jig. Go throw something else. And it's that simple stuff, those little nudges that she gives me, all the difference.
That's a good thing to have a supporting partner in that aspect, man.
Yep.
Rob, you got any last words before we get Wyatt go?
No, this was awesome. Like I said, I really soaked in a whole bunch. I think, like I said, before, there's a lot of people like me that listen to podcasts like this, and just being able to have a one-on-one interaction with you, like, super cool, man. Thank you for all the advice, and just keep on doing your thing. Like I said, there's a bunch of us watching, and you got a bunch of great things going your way. So
appreciate it.
Yeah,
definitely. So for those out there listening, if you're listening on the live show, YouTube, Facebook, or if you're listening on MP3 formats, remember you can check us out at pretty much any MP3 format or platform, Apple Podcasts, iHeart, Spotify, all of them. Check out our podcast. Leave us a like, leave us a review on Apple Podcasts if you listen to it, or on Spotify. It does mean a lot. Check us out on Bass Kayak and Beers YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. And again, thank you so much to my guest for today, Wyatt Hammonds, and for his success and all the companies that support him. Rob, thank you so much for joining us, guest host, and hopefully we'll get you here on the podcast soon. And Wyatt, regardless, I want to have you next year on the podcast to dive into skipping a jig, man. I think you'd be great for that. So kind of like tutorial video or podcast.
Yeah, man. I'm here for it.
So if you're out there on the water, please, guys and girls, wear your PFDs and just be safe out there, especially with the cold weather. Make sure you don't, you're warm enough in case you fall in the water. So have a good night, everyone. Peace out.
Man.